We are going to get started fairly soon. We have, according to Matt, we've got 46 people registered. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes for those folks who are still in the old time zone to catch up.
That'll be an hour.
Good thing we're a patient group.
Speak for yourself.
I was.
Marilyn, how's your new puppy?
Good. We're gradually getting him trained. Every time we think he is trained, he has an accident, of course. And he's getting awful big.
There he is.
Let's see.
Oh, he's cute.
Who's easier to train, Marilyn? Charlie or your dog?
What's that?
Who's easier to train, your dog or Charlie?
Oh, we're trying to determine that.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, it must be the dog because I've had Charlie for 60 years and I don't think I have him trained yet.
There you go.
You guys have been married for 60 years?
Nope. No,
it's
63.
63.
Well,
Yeah.
coming up 63.
Wow. Congratulations. That's awesome.
It's a marathon.
A marathon, yeah.
What's the secret, Charlie?
There are some things that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Oh,
That training worked well.
But she always lets me have the last word. Yes, dear.
Wah, wah, wah.
I'd say well done.
All right, Mark, let's get going. Kick us off if you can.
I think I can. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Rotarians, guests, guest speaker, to celebrate our 30th year as a club, the end of our 30th year. It's 1990, eh? This doesn't feel right. Hang on just a second. Bear with me if you will. 1990 had a little bit of a different look to it. If I recall, it had a little bit more of a, that kind of look. Yeah, that's better.
Oh,
1990. What's happening? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So I have a 30-slide presentation. No, I'm kidding. I have a reasonably short presentation that I would like to just kind of take you through. So this is our 30th anniversary as a club. This is our charter. So back in March 1990, the 21st day of March, we became a club. So most of you know that we have a history project. So we're celebrating our 30 years. And thanks to Alan Murdoch and his task group, they pulled together some highlights for me of the 3 decades that we've come through. And we just pulled out some of the highlights per decade, and really as projects that newer members like myself might not be aware of. So let's hit it. RYLA, the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, we hosted those awards. We sponsored the kitchen construction in the Salvation Army Community Center. We were the founding co-sponsor of the St. Albert Bench Sculpture Project. And if you look at the plaque in behind that lad's back foot there, you'll see the Rotary logo. You can't see it from here. We undertook a big lake conservation project. And we assumed operation of the Rotary Music Festival. In that decade, we also built the reading bus in the Children's Library in the St. Albert Public Library, and we had our first annual auction and have been doing damage ever since. The next decade, we hosted the Rotary District Conference at the Jasper Park Leauge when Larry Johnson was district governor. We were a major sponsor of the replication of the railway station at the Grain Elevator Park. We sponsored the Children's Literacy Project with the Public Library Reading Center and visiting Governor General award-winning Canadian authors to schools. Tell me that's not a mouthful. And we donated pallet racking and the lift truck to the St. Albert Food Bank and Community Village. And in this last decade, we celebrated the 40th anniversary of the music festival with the Evening of the Stars featuring Tommy Banks and Colin McLean and an outstanding alumni of the music festival. We coordinated the Rotary International Project Hospital Medical Supplies for Ghana. We initiated the Reaching Out School Grant Program. We successfully executed the Stop Hunger Now program with packaging of 282,744 meals. That's many. We continued our very, very successful international student exchange program. And over those 30 years, we sponsored 5 clubs. Fort Saskatchewan Rotary Club, the Morinville Rotary Club, the Saint City Rotary Club, the Drayton Valley Rotary Club, and the Edson Rotary Club. So we have quite a footprint. So congratulations, everyone. Very proud of this club, very proud of our club members, what we've achieved, and what we are going to achieve in the next 30. So Matt, I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, Mark. We got some guests on the call tonight. It's lovely to see the Rotary friends and those that are joining us. For those that I don't know, my name's Matt. I'm in charge of the Club Services Committee. So long story short, our committee helps to organize all of our club functions. So it's great to be here and celebrate 30 years of leadership and making a difference in the community. Tonight, what I wanted to do was have a fantastic leader in his own right come and speak to the club. Many people on this call will recognize the name Geroy Simon. Fantastic football player, but in my mind, an even better person, even better leader, but a guy that needs really no introduction and has a tremendous number of accomplishments. A few I will read out. 15 years in the CFL, 12 with the BC Lions, most outstanding player in 2006, 3-time Grey Cup champion, the CFL's all-time leader in receiving yards with over 16,000, second all-time in receptions with 1,029, and third all-time in TD receptions with 103. University of Maryland alum, which explains why the only thing that touches his body is Under Armour. For those of you that don't know, the founder of Under Armour graduated from Maryland, so that's Geroy's got a special connection with him and Under Armour everything. He's in the CFL Hall of Fame, the BC Sports Hall of Fame, and in his own words, the most important, the Cambria County Hall of Fame. Geroy's a father of 4 and now serves as the director of scouting with the BC Lions. Lives in Cloverdale with his 3 youngest kids, and his oldest son, Jervon, is a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy. As I mentioned before, one of the best leaders that I know. I am humbled. I am honored to introduce Geroy Simon. I don't know if he knows this, but when I was in high school, I had a poster of him in my bedroom. So it's full circle. Geroy, over to you. We look forward to hearing you speak.
thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. It's pretty funny and kind of humbling to hear that you had a poster of me growing up. But I'm glad we had the opportunity to play with each other and then against each other. I thought you were a great player and you would do well in the league for a number of years, and you had a good career. So thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate you, giving me the opportunity to speak to you. I'm going to talk to you guys about becoming a champion and the characteristics that you have to be up to become a champion. Matt read off a lot of different stats and things about me as a finished product of my career, but for me, it was a long, and it still is. It was a long process. Still is a process. Something that I work for each and every day. I kind of give a little bit of my background and kind of some of the things I went through. I'm from a small town called Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Has anybody ever heard of Johnstown, Pennsylvania? Show of hands. Well, a lot of people don't really know where Johnstown is. It's about an hour east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And a lot of Canadians actually do know Johnstown because if you've seen the movie Slapshot, that movie was filmed in my hometown. So I played high school basketball in that arena growing up. I was a multi-sport athlete. I played football, I played basketball, ran track. I kind of did it all. And from an early age, it was always known what I wanted to do. If you asked me at 5 years old, I'd say, don't laugh. My nickname is Puddin', and they call me because I'm named after my dad, so they call me Little Puddin'. And they'd say, Little Puddin', what do you want to do when you grow up? And I would always say, depending on the time of year, what it was probably pro baseball, in the NBA or NFL or running track in the Olympics. I always knew that I was going to do something in athletics because that's all that consumed me growing up. Like I said, growing up in Johnstown, I played football. We'll go to football last, but I played basketball. We were number 4 team in the state. My senior year, we 30 wins and done really well. And track, I was second in the 100 meter dash and in the high jump and 200 meters. And then as a football player, I left Johnstown High as the number 1 receiver to ever play at Johnstown High. One of the top 33 players in the state of Pennsylvania. I had over 180 some catches, 2,000 yards, 20 some touchdowns. I was the top guy. I was the guy. But in being a young high level athlete and on top of his game, I didn't have all the mental maturity that I needed to become a champion because even though I had a lot of stats and scored a lot of touchdowns, we didn't win a ton of games. But in my mind, it was everybody else's fault, not mine. So, and leaving Johnstown, being the number 1 receiver in the state of Pennsylvania, I went to University of Maryland. And at 17 years old, I was playing in front of 70, 80, 90,000 fans playing, college football, big time college football. And, when I first got there, I was scared to death. Not sure that I'd fit in or whatever, but I just did what came naturally to me. And that's just went out and I just used my athletic ability. I played 4 years at the University of Maryland, and the same thing. My sophomore year, I was 4th in the country in receptions, had 80 some catches. I led the ACC in catches and yards. Broke a bunch of records that year. And then, like I said, leaving Maryland, I was top 2 in school history with, again, 180 some catches, 2,000 yards, 20 some touchdowns. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do because I played high school football at a high level. I played university football at a high level, and I had fairly decent success. Now, that was individual success. It wasn't team success because, playing against the top teams in the country, we weren't very good. We didn't win a lot of games. So my next step was to go to the NFL, something that I'd always known that that I wanted to do. And again, I had a ton of individual success, but I was a me guy. I was a guy that only cared about my stats. I was only cared about my touchdowns, how many times I got to be on TV, and the team success wasn't really that important. So going into the draft, in the NFL draft that they have every year, I was projected to be first, second, third round pick based on the things that I'd done in university. So I get to the draft. I had a big party, had 50 people at my house. Unlike today, you can't do that, COVID, but 50 people at my house, ready to hear the commissioner go on TV and say such and such team drafts out of University of Maryland receiver Geroy Simon. Get to the draft, first round, I don't get picked. Second round, I don't get picked. Third round, probably when I'm supposed to be picked, I don't get picked. Sixth, seventh, fifth, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, I don't get drafted, and that's a kick in the gut, because I'd really believed that I was one of the top players in that draft, top receivers in that draft, and I didn't get the opportunity to get drafted. So I ended up signing with the Cincinnati Bengals as a street free agent, or undrafted free agent, sorry, and I go to training camp. It's so funny because, being from where I'm from, being, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, growing up a Steelers fan all your life, the worst place that you can go to is the Cincinnati Bengals. At that time, they were the worst franchise in NFL history, and they might still be, but it was terrible. So, and then on top of that, I was an undrafted free agent. So that made it even harder to go to. Get to Cincinnati. One of my old coaches is actually on the staff. I think I have a great opportunity. They had a couple of veteran receivers, but I thought that I could really make a splash and have an opportunity to start, because in my mind I was the best football player in the world and nobody could stop me. I get to training camp. I'll never forget. I sit down with the head coach, Bruce Coslett, and he says, Geroy, in order for you to make this team, we don't want you to play receiver. We want you to run down on special teams and make tackles. Again, I probably could have done it, but in my mind, I was too good to play special teams. I wanted to be a starting receiver. I wanted to get catches and get first downs and score touchdowns. So I didn't do it. And after, as a result of me not, being a special teams player, they cut me. 3 weeks later, I went to Philadelphia, to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they cut me. I go to my favorite team after that, 3 weeks after, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they cut me. That was after 2 weeks. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I go there, and they cut me twice in a matter of 2 weeks. They just cut me and bring me right back, cut me and bring me right back. So after doing that for another, that was all my rookie year. Also, all of my rookie year, I was at the Cincinnati Bengals, who cut me, the Philadelphia Eagles, who cut me, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who cut me, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they cut me twice. So I was beat up. I ended up playing another year at Tampa in 1998, my second year, and they cut me 3 more times. So after that season, I was just beat up, and I just wanted to play football. I didn't care where it was at. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted the opportunity. So, and I got 2 offers after the 1998 season with the Detroit Lions and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And my dumb ass chose the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because I just wanted to play. I had no idea where Winnipeg was. I had never even really heard of Winnipeg, but I knew that they wanted to give me an opportunity, and they would give me a true opportunity to play. So I chose to go to Winnipeg. Um, 1999, 2000, my rookie and second year in the league. And I had 2 really good years. I scored a lot of touchdowns. I played with the great Milt Stegall, and Robert Gordon and Albert Johnson, and we had those teams that put up a lot of points and scored a lot of touchdowns. And then I get a little taste of winning. So after my second year in Winnipeg, I wanted to give the NFL another shot. So I signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's funny because, things, life comes at you, in circles. And I remember signing with the Chiefs and thinking I had a really good opportunity to make the team and be this great receiver and get my NFL career rolling. But I got called into the head coach's office, Dick Vermeil, and he said, Geroy, we've been tracking you all these years. We saw what you did at Winnipeg. We followed you when you were at Maryland. We like what you do. But in order to make our team, you got to be a team player. You got to play special teams. You got to do some of the grunt work. You got to do some of the dirty work that's going to help us to be a better team. And I respectfully declined. And I was only worried about myself. I wasn't worried about all the things that having a winning season, having a winning culture would do for me, not only as a player but me and my teammates as a team. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they ended up cutting me as well. And as you can see, it was never my ability. It was never my I had enough speed. I had good enough hands. I ran good enough routes. I was definitely tough enough. But the thing that held me back was me. And that's what stopped me from not only being a leader all the years of my years at the University of Maryland, but also becoming a champion and helping our team win. So I know Matt touched on it a little bit, but after getting cut from Kansas City, I was, I couldn't go back to school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I actually I was going to quit football because I was tired of all the politics that was involved. But I said, I got 2 choices. I can get a job with a small company it was a small startup company, and just go and work there. It's called Under Armour, that one of my good friends started, or I can try and go play football again. And I couldn't get back in school, so because the semester had already started. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try play football one more year and see what happens. And I was it's funny because I had 2 kids and one on the way, and I was just, I just didn't know what to do. So I said, I'll try football again. So the BC Lions gave me a call. They ended up signing me for $500 a week, typical practice squad contract in the CFL. Now, granted, in the NFL, I was, if I'd got drafted, I'd have been making millions of dollars every year and would never really worried about money again. But signing for $500 a week was very humbling, but it gave me the opportunity to, start my career from scratch and really say, what type of legacy do I want to leave? What type of person do I want to be? What type of player do I want to be? And, I had a bunch of individual success, but I never had any real team success. And I said, the one thing I'm going to change when I go to the BC Lions is I'm going to give them everything I got, and I'm going to do anything that they ask me to do. If they ask me to run down on special teams and make tackles, I'll do that. If they want me to catch kicks and punts, I'll do that. Something that I hadn't done a lot of. If they wanted me to score a game-winning touchdown against the Edmonton Eskimos in the last minute, I'd do that too. And I've done that. But the thing that happened was, I really humbled myself and really put the team first. And when I did that, my first year in BC wasn't so great. I had about 700 yards, and which is it's a good year, but for someone who's had tons of success, it's not kind of what I strove to be. But when Wally Bueno came in, he gave me an opportunity to be a number one receiver, and that's something I also wanted to do. So in 2003, I had like 1,600 yards. 2004, I had 1,700 yards. And then the big year was 2006. And the most important thing about the 2006 season is I had 1,800 yards and one most outstanding player, which was a great accomplishment. But for the first time after the 2006 season, I could call myself a champion because that's the year we won the Grey Cup for the first time. When I was on the team, we had an opportunity to win, and it was fitting because for me, I like I said, I changed my attitude. I changed how I viewed not only myself but my teammates, and I won the most outstanding player. We basically swept all the awards, and that was something that was really, really special for me because not only did I have success, but my teammates had success, and we also won a championship. So if you take anything else, anything from what I said, it's just being selfless, being put other people in first, and show them how it is to win and be a champion. I'll talk about another quick story is when I after years and years of having success with the BC Lions. 2012, we had a great year as a team, and it was the first time that I really got hurt and I missed games. We went 12 and I think we went 13-5. We won the West, and then we ended up losing in the West Final to go to the Grey Cup. So after every season, I would sit down with Wally, and he would say, we'd say, are we going to do this for another year? And it was always a quick yes. We'd sign a contract, and I'd go on my way. So after the 2012 season, Wally, I went and sat down with him. He said, I'm not sure if I'm going to bring you back. So we started having contract negotiations, and it wasn't quite going my way. So I was mad, I was upset, and he gave me an opportunity to seek a trade because he didn't think that I would ever leave BC. But the one thing that I always said in my CFL career is if I get a chance to leave the BC Lions, there's only one place I want to go, and that's Saskatchewan. Now, I hated Saskatchewan. They hated me. But that hate ended up turning into mutual respect because they respected the way that I played each and every week and the toughness that I thought I brought. And I respected the way that they really looked after their players and supported their team. So I got traded to Saskatchewan January 24th of 2013. And I'll never forget, I get to Regina for my press conference, and a lady, she's probably 75, 80 years old, and she comes up to me and she says, Geroy, for 12 years, I hated you, but now I love you. And that sums up the Saskatchewan experience of all the years of playing them. But starting the season, there were all these expectations of what I would do once I got on the field with the Riders, and we had a great team that year, and we felt we were stacked to win it all. And we get to training camp, and I get injured in training camp in the first preseason game, and then I end up not playing for the first 3 games of the year. And we're rolling. We win our first 8 games. We lose 1, and then we win again, and then we had a little bit of adversity. And I always thought that my role with the Riders leading up to that was I was going to be this leader that comes in and shows them how to win, and receives for 12, 13, 1,400 yards and be a leader that way. But when we were winning, everything was great. Everybody was happy. Everybody was, high-fiving. Everybody was all about the team. But once we hit a little adversity, we lost 1 game, then we lost 2 games, and then we lost 3 games. Then it was 4. We lost 4 games in a row. something hit me, leading into, after that fourth loss in a row. And something said, I kind of sat back and said, this is why the Riders brought me here. They didn't bring me here for the 8 or 9 wins in a row. They brought me here for this moment when the team is in a tailspin and we don't know how to get out of it. Because in 2011, we started 1-6, and everybody was calling for Wally to get fired. Everybody's calling for, they called me old and I couldn't get it done. And, we're 1-6 and, they just want to get rid of everybody. And the one thing Wally told us in 2011 is he said, you know what, you guys are my guys. So I don't care what our record is, just go out and play and you'll be on this team. And we ended up winning the Grey Cup. So I learned from that experience that we're the same team at in this 4-game losing streak as we were in the 8-game win streak. And I tried to remind guys each and every day, like, look, these are the things that you have to do for us to be successful and get out of this. And it was just, go play football. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about trying to make the exciting play. Don't worry about trying to get that sack when it's not your turn. Just go out and do your job each and every day, and we'll turn this thing around. And at the end of the 2013 season, we ended up being Grey Cup champions. And that's one of my more proud moments of being an athlete, is knowing that not only did I have success throughout my career, but the guys that played beside me had their best years when they played with me. And it's not all because of me, but I felt that one thing I did was I not only tried to make myself better each and every week, I tried to make my teammates better, whether it's Jason Claremont, Ryan Thelwell, Chris Brazel, Frank Catolo, Darian Durant, whoever it was, I tried to make them have their best years, because in the end, I demanded that they come out and they give it their all, because I was going to do the same. I'll leave you with a couple quick points of being a champion. Something I just wrote down probably 5 minutes before I got on the call. And there are different aspects of being a champion. And this isn't just about football. This is something that you can do in your everyday lives. And I call it being a champion. A champion is always on time and stays early. Or sorry, a champion is always on time or comes early. A champion stays late. A champion consistently prepares. A champion is mentally alert. A champion constantly challenges him or herself. A champion is highly competitive. A champion is unselfish and selfless. And a champion is a finisher. I want to thank you guys for having me. It's been a great experience to see your faces and get to tell you my story. If you guys have any questions, I'm definitely open to answer questions. But again, thank you for having me on. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Geroy. I got a question. I'll get this started. You now spend your time in the front office with the Lions. Obviously, a big part of what you're doing is evaluating talent and players from across North America, across the globe, I guess. Outside of the skills, running, jumping, speed, catching, what are some of the intangibles that you're looking for in young players as they come in to see if they're going to be a fit for the culture of the BC Lions?
Well, that's one of the things we look at after we, when I turn on a film of a guy, obviously you look at the how they run, how they play, if they're tough. But one of the first things I do is I get permission to talk to a trainer, equipment guy, the last guy on the roster, and see how they treat those guys. Because when you have a group of individuals from all over the globe, with 50 different 50 different mentalities and egos. It's like a puzzle. Everybody has to fit in the puzzle, because if you get one, they say one bad apple spoils a group. So we really look at, you know, the type of people players are. We'll take a little bit less of a player if we know that they're a good person and they're gonna do all the things required to help us win. So it's not always about, when you're building a team, it's not always about having the best player. It's bringing people together and having them work together for one common goal.
Awesome.
Andre has a question.
Okay.
Andre?
Yeah. Geroy, really nice to meet you virtually. I've been a fan from afar for some time. You just always played for the wrong team, in my opinion. But I'd like to know how many more yards and more championships would you have won if you were a member of the Edmonton football team?
Well, you guys always had a great group of receivers, so I'm not sure if I'd have had many more yards. I probably would have had less with Jason Tucker and Hervey and that group of receivers. As far as championships, I'm not sure because, you know, with the Lions, you know, I know that you guys, that, you know, in 2005 they won a championship, so that's a year that BC wouldn't have won. So I'd say at least that year. So I'd have at least one.
I have a question, Matt. Can I do a question?
Sure.
Okay. Geroy, attitude, the dressing room situation. How do you determine, I guess, from the people that you choose, that they're going to bring the attitude to the dressing room that's going to make them want to go out there and just run everybody down?
Like I said, what we do is we do a lot of background check on guys. We you know, we'll go as far back as to their high school coaches or teacher or someone. We do a lot of background checks. You know, first and foremost, we have to, if it's an American, they have to come across the border. So we have to do, you know, any police reports or anything like that before we can even bring a guy across the border. And then we do a lot of personality checking with different members of the community they live in, coaches, like I said, trainers and equipment staff. Because in football, the most important people are the trainers and the equipment staff, and they know the guys a lot better than even the coaches know.
Bob has a question.
Sorry. Thank you very much. So you talked earlier about the number of teams that had cut you. You didn't mention whether they had a chat with you at the time about why. And I'm wondering if the coaches in the NFL, if they cared enough about the young players who had skill but perhaps had attitude, or perhaps didn't understand all the other important parts of being part of a team. Did they talk to you? Did they explain why, or was it just a cut and goodbye?
Yeah, in the NFL, it's pretty cutthroat. They don't really say much to you. A lot of coaches don't even talk to you. They just, it's a personnel guide, like someone, myself now, down there, they'll just come and grab you and say, we're letting you go, and you pack your bag in a black garbage bag, and you're on your way. No one really talks to you. I had initial conversations with coaches just because I wanted to see where I stood, because I never really trusted coaches enough. So I wanted to, you know, talk to them before training camp started and kind of see where I'm at and see if I'm going to have a true opportunity. Just being cut so many times, I just wanted to know like what my real chances were. And a lot of coaches told me, you're going to have to make your hay on special teams. And I wasn't so thrilled, even though I did it. I didn't do it with the same intensity as I did when I was on the offensive side of the ball. So in the end, we always say in football, if you're around long enough, you make the team or you cut yourself. So guys know they usually have a good idea of why they got cut.
Brian has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Geroy, really good talk. Thank you for that. It sounded like a light switch went off for you when you were playing. You went to BC and you started to think about the team. I'm wondering what caused that light switch to go off. And I'd also like to know the mentors in your career and how they helped you evolve as a player.
Yeah, I mean the light switch went off with me because I knew that the reason why I wasn't making the team because I was considered just an offensive player, and being a being undrafted free agent, no matter where you go, and no matter how much success you have, you're still always seen as an undrafted free agent. So you have to do those little things. You have to do a little bit of the grunt work to to establish yourself. And as far as like mentors, I never really had a ton other than my family, like my dad and my mom. One of my actually still close friends, Tommy Europe, he was playing with BC. Actually, he was playing at Winnipeg at the time. And before I came to BC, I called him and he said, look, if BC is going to give you an opportunity, just go and do whatever you got to do to make the team. He said, and he didn't even talk about the football side of it. He was like, Vancouver's a great city. You'll love it. You'll have a great time, and just try to stay there as long as you can. And I looked at it from, I was coming here to play football, and then that's all I wanted to do. And I think that's why I ended up playing so long, because my singular focus was winning championships. I didn't do any of the skiing. I didn't go to the beach. I didn't do anything that was going to take away from me being successful on the football field for many years.
Jennifer, and then Kevin, and then we'll go to the phone lines.
Thanks, Mark. Great presentation. I am born and raised in Vancouver, so I think you're exactly where you need to be. Just don't tell the rest of these people here. And, I love your story because it just shows that skill's great, but attitude's everything. And I think that the more we can share that with our young people, the better we all are. But quick question, you work so hard and to achieve what you're wanting to achieve, and then when you get injured, how does that affect you? Like, how do you push through and get back out there?
Well, again, like my singular focus was always to get on the field and be successful. So when I had an injury, with the few times that I've had injuries in my career, as soon as I had my injury, I just thought that I was going to do whatever I could to not only help the team, but to get myself back and ready on the field. In the 2012 season, when I tore my hamstring, I was supposed to be out the rest of the year, and I sat out 4 games and ended up coming back just because I put my money where my mouth was. So any of the rehab or anything of that, I paid for it myself just to make sure that I can perform at a high level.
Kevin, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. First, thanks, Matt, for the invite tonight. Big CFL fan my whole life. So, Geroy, can you talk about some of the leaders that you played with? And they're not necessarily always the superstars. Who are some of the quieter guys that always didn't get the spotlight that made really good leaders?
One of the best leaders now one of the first guys I think about is Dave Dickinson. He was not he wasn't a big rah-rah guy. He was quiet. But he was very direct. You got in the huddle and he led us the right way. Brent Johnson was a leader. Jason Claremont, he was farm boy from Regina. One of the best leaders out there. Rob Murphy. I've played a number. Angus Reid. He's a great speaker and talks a lot about leadership. And he was our center for 10 years. Bobby Singh. There's a number of guys who who took that mantle and great guy. And I think that's why we had success all for, a span of 10 years, which is almost unheard of, to continue to win each and every year. Not, we didn't win championships every year, but we were in the hunt each and every year because we had a core group of guys that came to work, that demanded excellency from their teammates, and not only did they demand it, but they led by example.
A couple of questions in the chats. Myron, do you work with Catlin Johnson?
No, I don't think so.
Sorry, that should be Caden Johnson.
Caden Johnson. Yeah, we just drafted him.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And he's on the Canada Olympic team for bobsled as well.
Yeah, he's a big, strong, fast kid that we drafted out of York.
Right. Yeah, he went to school with my daughter in Outlook, Saskatchewan.
Oh, okay. Yes, he's a Saskatchewan boy.
I think his uncle was Ben Johnson.
I think that's true.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Question from Don in the chat. Is there something that someone could have said about your attitude versus skills earlier in your career that would have made a difference?
Actually, Spanky answered that for me. The same thing. Yeah. Thank you. And great presentation too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ash.
Geroy, I really enjoyed your talk, and especially the 5 points you made at the end of your talk. That's what it takes to be successful in life and in work. I really enjoy those. But my question is, and I'm a big NFL fan and college football fan, I want to know your reaction. Here's a kid, 19, 20, 21-year-old, used to having 75, 80,000 fans in the stands. All of a sudden, you're playing for Winnipeg and you have 10,000 fans in the stand, and it's -15, -20. What was that like?
Well, I kind of see it as the players see it now with COVID when they didn't have fans in the stands at all. It doesn't matter because 95% of the time when you're on a football field, there isn't any fans in the stands when you're at practice so when you're out there, the fans are a bonus. But you're out there to do a job, especially in professional football. You're here to do a job, no matter if there's one fan or 100,000 fans. You're there to do a job, and that's to help the team win football games.
I don't see any more questions. Matt, I'm going to hand it back to you since I wrestled it out of your hands.
No, thank you. Thank you. I just want to say, Geroy, thanks a lot on behalf of the Rotary Club. Your speech tonight, your talk tonight fits in well with what we do. This is a group of amazing people who do some awesome work in our community and have been doing it for 3 decades. Lots of successful people in their careers and leaders in their field. So I think everybody will walk away with a tidbit of information that they can implement into their lives tomorrow. So thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it. It was awesome to have you come out and speak to us, and it was well enjoyed. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Geroy. And shout out to Matt for organizing this evening and making it a great success. Thanks, Matt.
Welcome. So with that, we'll wrap it up. If you guys want to stick around for a while and visit, you're free to do so. If you have places to be, feel free to log off, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again, Geroy.
Thank you, guys.
See you later.
Good night, all.
Night. Thank you, Matt. Excellent.
Matt, it was absolutely wonderful.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Why are you got a meeting on Tuesday?
Hi, Mike. We can just see you.
It would be wonderful if we could get that presentation made available on DVD or flash drive or something, to kids in school. I mean, that was really powerful and would be especially powerful to high school, junior high kids.
I would also like to see a foot race between Matt Carter and Geroy Simon, just for funs.
Yeah, I agree.
You have four torn hamstrings at the end of that race. I promise you that.
I didn't know where it came from, but now I'm maybe getting an idea. But I have something in common with Geroy, and that is Matt's coined the nickname to me. He always calls me Little Puddin', and I guess now I know where that came from.
Nice hairstyle there, Mikey.
You like it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's you. It's you.
Everybody. Yeah. Not everybody. Nice and quiet up there. What's going on? So it's good.
I told him to get over here.
So is Rick Leauge still with the BC Lions?
I'm not sure.
Talker looks like he's sitting in a private jet.
He might be.
Hey Matt, he seems like a pretty big lad for a receiver, eh? Was he on a bigger, like what was his stat? Like it was his height, weight for a receiver. Is he big dude or is he bigger now?
When you retire from football, you retire from football. So I mean, there's
Yeah, but look at you, man. You're like the Terminator, man. You're faster, bigger, stronger, man. You're not bigger.
Not at all. That is so far from the truth. It is yeah, it's you got 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever it is, you got places to go, there's McDonald's in the car, you're not training every day, you're not running, lifting every day.
That doesn't sound like what champions are made of, buddy. Just because you're retired, honestly.
Hey,
come on.
He ran a marathon in 3 hours like a couple months ago. So
I know that's why he's being so modest. That's what I was going to say to him. Exactly.
Gee, James, I just retired. I hope you don't comment on my weight. Just saying.